On today's show, we will talk about what role do we play once our kids have moved out and they are now adults. And later, we will have Suzanne Border join us to talk about the new sensory room over at the Right Place for Kids in Altoona. Have you ever felt in a funk, just off for whatever reason, and maybe no reason at all? I was headed to a conference recently, a conference that was focused on the things of God, and I just had this stuck to me. I wasn't feeling great, which probably did play a part, but nonetheless, we arrived for the first service, and worship begins, and many of the songs are unknown to me, which at times can make it even that much harder to just enter in. But thankfully, I had a friend that prayed over my funk, and I was determined to allow God to do what God does, and I began to worship. I mean, worship is never about me anyways. It doesn't matter how I feel, what mistakes I've made yesterday, or what songs are being sung. All that matters is Him, giving Him the praise that He so rightly deserves, giving Him honor, putting Him above all else. And what a sweet presence was in this place. What a powerful presence that was in this place. As I chose to let the funk leave, the stink slide off of me, and just enter into the Holy of Holies, it truly was an amazing time. It was a refreshing time, a renewing of my mind and my heart. But it was a choice. And it was me saying, no, Satan, not today, not now. And I don't say this to say I always get it right or, well, look at me, because I often do get it wrong for sure. But I'm learning those feelings are just feelings, and that if I allow them to stay, they will separate me from what He has for me. And I don't want that. I want Him, and I want to hear from Him, to lean into Him, to draw closer. And truly, there's no better place than in that time of worship to Him. I want to encourage you that if you feel that funk, get a friend to pray for you, and then choose worship anyways. Choose to surrender and see what He can do. 1 Chronicles 16:29-31 says, ascribe to the Lord the glory due His name. Bring an offering and come before Him. Worship the Lord in the splendor of His holiness. Tremble before Him, all the earth. The world is firmly established. It cannot be moved. Let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. Let them say among the nations, the Lord reigns. Yes, and amen. Let's worship the Lord, our Lord and King of Kings, despite that funk. And when we come back, it's just three ladies with big opinions, always backed by a biblical standpoint. Let's talk about it.
This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, if you can dream it, we can create it. They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And today we're going to hit a topic that I felt I needed to hear because I'm moving into some of this, but these two probably have a lot more that they can give on it than I can. And we're going to talk about what happens when those kids you've raised for so long are now adults and leaving your home.
My husband did cartwheels down the street.
I know!
Did cartwheels down the street and said, whoa, I can use the bathroom anytime I want. I'm going to have hot water. My car's always going to be at the drop. Yeah, he was, he pretended to be deliriously happy.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I do like empty nests.
Yeah.
I do like it.
Yeah,
I like it's just John and I finally, like I do. And just because they're adults doesn't mean that I stop praying, worrying.
No, absolutely.
I help them. I feel like I talk to 2 of the 3 at least every single day. I miss them in my home. Last year at Christmas time, they all came home and I was so excited. I remember talking about it. I was so excited to get everybody back in my house. And I cried when I took them all back to the airport. But a couple of days later, it was like, whew,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, and all of yours live away?
2.
Okay, and how far away?
Florida.
Both of them live in Florida?
My boys live in Florida. My daughter lives here.
Oh, both of your boys live in Florida. Okay, okay. So that's quite a trek. That's not an overnight trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Your girls live.
Both of my girls live away now.
Yeah.
My youngest lives in Knoxville, Tennessee, and my oldest lives in the greater D.C. area over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to plan. You do. But you know what? We've always kept the road hot. And it's just what you do. It's just what you do.
I think it will be very different and probably hard if my kids move out of Altoona. Only because my brother and I have lived in Altoona all of our lives.
And see, and your parents live
and my
here.
parents live
Your
here.
in-laws, your
my
family
in-laws
is very
live
concentrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
That will be very different
So if
for
they
you.
moved out of Altoona or just farther away,
Yes.
I would be like,
Yes.
I don't know what this is like, because I've been, just surrounded by family forever.
And
Right.
honestly, what was difficult for me that wasn't difficult for John, because our girls have been gone a long time, I felt like I had an identity crisis because I was a mom. I was the person that drove to the high school or drove to the, and
Packed
I
the
took and I
lunches.
went and packed the lunches.
Did the laundry.
Yes, I was mom. And God really, over a period of like a year after Kristen left, I felt like I was developing again, But John and I like each other. If you have not nurtured that relationship with your spouse, get on it. Get on it. Your kids should not always be around.
Like if you're living life and everything's about your kids.
Yes.
And then they're up and gone. And then all of a sudden you're in this house with somebody that you find and I'm not speaking from experience because
No.
John and I are buddies.
Right.
But I know people, they look
Yes.
at each other like, I don't know you and I don't even think I like you.
Yes.
Because what bonded them together
Is gone.
is gone.
Well, I think it was actually my husband who was telling me this one time. I'm not sure, but that the divorce rate after the kids leave is very high.
Very high. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Because they don't know each other. They have nothing in common because the kids have left. And so their purpose is gone. Our purpose in our relationship should not be our children.
Right.
It should be serving God in whatever season we're in.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's going to look different.
right.
It's going to look different whether your kid's in elementary school, high school, college, or on their own. Your season looks different.
It
Absolutely.
does. It does. And believe me, I do miss my boys. I do very much. But I'm also excited for what God has for my boys.
Yes.
Like Cody is pursuing a girl down there that he might very well marry that I know he would have never found that person.
Yeah.
I always said to him, Cody, be patient because that song by Phil Collins, you can't hurry love, you just have to wait.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, God already knows where this person is. You just have to make sure you're in the right place to find
don't settle
her.
and
Yes.
just be
And I think
patient.
he's finally found her. And it's interesting to watch
If
everybody.
she watches this show, she might be interested to hear this.
I know. So but each kid is kind of building their own little family, and it's interesting to watch. And here's the thing, my daughter lives 2 minutes, 5 minutes at the most from me. I can be there like that. I don't see him for a couple days. I don't really care. It's the baby that I miss. It's the baby
I
that
hear
I
that quite often
Yeah.
about grandparents.
Yeah.
But I will say this, though. People said to me when Sarah was expecting the first time, oh, my goodness, you're just going to say, oh, where did this love come from? Oh, my goodness, it's so special. Listen, my kids did not stop being my kids because I had grandkids. I adore my girls and my sons, my sons in love. I love them. I love spending, I love my grands. But I love the relationship I have with my adult children. And you will find that everybody who's got littles, love them while they're little, teach them, pray for them, pour into them, because don't be their friend now. Be their parent. Absolutely. Be their friend later when you have raised a person that you can be a friend with.
Well, and I know that my kids have good hearts.
Yes.
And I know they are caring individuals, and they may not get everything right. And
oh, yeah. As imperfect as we are, so are they.
Yes, because that was my next comment here, was how they are is indicative of who John and I are. Because we did not live around family, and we were the family, John and I. And so what you see in them is indicative, good, bad, and indifferent, you know. And
well, and there are people we know whose kids have not made good choices. I don't think it's the parents' fault at all. Our children make their own choices.
I made
as
bad
adults.
decisions.
I did too.
It wasn't my mom's fault.
Yes,
it wasn't my dad's fault. I did what I wanted to do.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, I have one that's 18.
Right. Yes.
And he maybe in a few years will move out and have a family of his own. But then I have an 8-year-old.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I kind of get to do it.
You're not going to get crushed. You're going to the slow.
Yeah,
You've got a while. You've got
I have a while. And I don't know that I need a while, because I think I will be okay.
Yes.
You know, I will miss them, especially, like I said, if they moved out of town. But I've always been okay being on my own, and I think I will like having a clean house and things more in order.
Any mess left you can't blame it on anyone.
Right?
Yes.
It's your own mess.
Yep.
You know? And
John and I am totally going to tell on John. And I don't even care what he thinks. But when the girls were at home, like I'd buy things to pack in their lunch, like Little Debbie's and individual potato chip things and stuff like that. And I would find the empty things stuffed in the couch and in the chairs. And I'm like, girls, they're like, Mom. I'm like, don't tell me that. You put it in the garbage when it's done. And I'm not kidding you. 2-3 months ago, the dog was just going to town, trying to get down in the corner of a chair. And I'm like, get out of there. Finally, I went over and dug in. I pulled out 1, 2. He had stuffed them down. I said, you always blame that on Sarah Kristen. And look at what you've done. He said, it wasn't me. The dog had to put it there.
But you know what? When they come home, like Cody was the last one to come home, and he wasn't home but a hot minute, and John's like, well, Cody, because, stuff that he does. But you
get used to living by yourself.
Yes, but then you learn to embrace those things,
yes.
And it's just Cody's back in the house. And you don't make a big deal out of it. He's only there for a week, and I just let it go. Let it go, and I love on him, and
That's
welcome him
right.
back. This is home, Cody.
Yeah, you love your kids right where they are.
Yeah.
Right, it's always home.
That's right.
It's always going to be
always
home,
home.
and they're going to come back and get on your nerves, but
Yeah.
it's home.
Yeah.
It's the safe place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Even though they're adults, we always, like you said, I think you began with it, we pray for them.
That's right.
We still worry about them.
Yep.
They're still always on our hearts because they're ours.
That's right.
Yes.
They're ours the whole time.
The whole time. Yeah. So if you are in that transition where your kids are beginning to leave the home and you're like, I don't know what to do, you just keep praying for them. They're still your kids. You still love on them. That's still their safe place to go. But also transition in what God has for you next, because you're always on a journey and we're always moving forward in what God has for us. And when we come back, we will have our guest for the day.
Mouth-watering family recipes, easy-to-make meals, humor, and faith fill the inspiring show Dano on the Counter. Born with only half a spine, Dano Burkhardt was never supposed to be able to hold his head up. Despite countless surgeries, a stroke, leg amputations, and kidney transplants, Dano developed a contagious love for life. Join Dano on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. on Fox 8 as he shares his easy-to-make dishes and the hope that keeps him pushing forward.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And today we have with us Suzanne. And Suzanne, just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into what you do over at the Right Place.
My name is Suzanne Border, and I am with the Right Place for Kids, the Nehemiah Project here in Altoona. Married to my husband, Dan. We've been married about 6 years. Live with our 4 birds, 2 cats, and 1 little bunny.
Oh, that's awesome. All your fur babies.
Yes,
fur
and feather babies. Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. So we asked you here today because you have something new over at the Right Place for Kids to offer to people on the autism spectrum mostly, right?
Right.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we're looking to serve the autistic children in our community. And what we have is a space called Reyn's Room. It's a sensory space for families or children and their families to come in. And it's more of a safe place for them to play, and it's a bonding experience between the child and mom, the child and their siblings who may not have any type of neurodivergence. But it's a place for that to have that safety and that comfort. It's soft play. We have a lot of interactive toys and things of that nature for them. A lot of autistic people tend to be nonverbal, and they can express themselves through music or through that play with each other. And that's what we're looking to do with this space.
So it's for the whole family.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Do you have to make an appointment to come, or how does that happen if my child is autistic?
Now you can call in. Right now we're not doing open times
open
for
play.
that because what we want to do is some children get along well with other children do not, and they see those other children, those other bodies as being a little bit too much in that same, that shared space. So what we're doing is we're scheduling appointments so that we know if this family is okay with another family, or if this family would rather not have that influence.
That's
I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Yes,
I've been like,
yes.
open, come everybody.
So, Suzanne, I was over there. I'd never been in a sensory room in my life. And first of all, it is extremely impressive.
Yes.
Like, extremely.
I've been there too.
I wanted to play in that room.
Yes, I did too.
For real. But, like,
An appointment.
yeah, I might have to. But here's the thing, like, help me, because my perception was totally changed when I saw the room, because I felt like the room was sensory overload. And I thought, how does an autistic kid who is sensitive in that area deal with all these lights and just, like, help me to understand that, because my perception of that was so wrong.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I have had a lot of growing experience and learning with this as well. And, I have a couple of friends who they have, autism in their family, their children and whatnot, but I myself have never been close to it. And this exactly, I've learned a lot with that. And you're right, we do have all those ceiling lights, they're, the big bulbs, but they're covered over with a darker fabric. So that light is a little bit more muted. So that strain from the bright lights, I have issues with bright lights myself. So I can imagine being a child who is on sensory overload with that. And that's where that covering comes in handy for that. With all of the toys, we keep everything tucked away in cabinets and closets and things like that, so that they're not all scattered out about. So they don't have, again, that overload of how do I choose what I want to play with? How do I decide what I want to do? Well, this box is a different size than this box, than that box, and the need to shuffle with all that. Everything's kept tucked away, and we ask the parents, when you come in, just like you do at home whenever you're playing, take one item at a time, play with it. When you're done, put it away. Go ahead and get something else out as well. And you'll notice, we have all the bright colors, but it's not just this big explosion of color all over the place. We have the blues and the purples that are a little bit more soothing as well.
So did you have a consultant that helped you bring all of this together?
Good question.
Absolutely not.
No.
Did you just research that?
It was not me. It was not me. I came along very late in the game with this. But how the whole Rent Room sensory space started was we had a local family make a very generous donation to the Nehemiah Project for a sensory space.
Okay.
And then how do we do this? What do we do? Was the question that they were asking. And lo and behold, one day they got a phone call from a lady who had 2 autistic grandchildren. She had bought tons and tons of toys and interactive items and things like that, and the kids had no interest in them. So she says, well, what do I do with all this stuff? So she's going around trying to find something like a toy lending library. And she called us one day and spoke with our director. Oh, okay, now we have this lovely donation. Here you are with all of these supplies. How'd you like to join our committee for the sensory space?
Oh.
And she wound up being a committee of 1. Oh. and her husband, who was voluntold that he was going to be part of this.
Committee of 1 and voluntold. Love those. Love that. Love that.
And the amazing thing about this husband and wife, they live 2 hours away.
Wow.
So they would drive here from Clarion. Dan and Jean Hulse would drive here from Clarion to every few days work on it as we got closer toward the end. I remember walking in one day and our director handed me this stack of binders and a couple of sheets of paper. You're going to be working with Jean and you're going to be putting this together. I know nothing at all about any type of sensory spectrum issues. I'm going to do this completely blind. But Jean gave me some insight with her grandchildren, what she had learned in researching, and explained to me, again, with the bright lights and all the colors. And whenever I start to put stuff together, whenever we're getting ready to open about 2 months ago, she stopped me one day and she said, a child with a sensory issue is going to have a lot of problems with the way you're stacking these boxes. Why? Because they're different sizes, they're going different directions and whatnot. Okay, I can kind of see that. Then I was speaking with another friend who had explained to me how a lot of autistic people process stuff. And it's that their senses are wide open all of the time.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, now you see, and that was, yeah. I almost stood there in tears whenever she explained this to me, because now I'm starting to understand how they cannot process the environment around them in that, because that light's too bright. There's a machine outside that's droning. These colors are too bright. This pile of pillows is a mess.
Oh,
it's all coming at the same time.
It's like an assault.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sensory assault. Exactly. The whole world is a sensory assault.
So what are the age groups that can come, and how much does it cost when a family calls to make an appointment?
We are serving children up to age 18.
Okay.
And the lovely thing about this, there is no cost. We don't require insurance of any type. We don't require documentation from a doctor.
Excellent.
This is just coming, and also we're not, as I say, this is all new. I am a complete lay person whenever it comes to the autistic community, to sensory issues. We are not therapists, we're not counselors. We want families to come in, have that time together. They'll come in, they'll watch a little video explaining the room and some of the equipment that we have, and then staff steps out and we let that family have that time together. So,
and how long is it?
About 30, 45 minutes, depending upon how long the child. Yes, ma'am, how long the child's interested in.
Have you had a lot of interest in these 2 months? Like, is the word getting out so that people...
Back before the school year started, we were really busy. We had a couple of weeks where every week we had at least one family in. Then whenever the school year started, it's the end of the day, the kids are a little bit tired. Most days we close at 5.
Okay.
So it's too close between school ending and whenever we close. But as we're getting more staffing in and we're getting more activity in the hub, which is where the sensory room is on our 3rd floor, then we're able to extend those hours for families.
You gotta wonder, I don't even know if this is possible and what they do in the school districts, but if that would be even something that during the school day they could say, hey, let's take them over here for a portion to build into them and get some time. I don't know the logistics of that, but...
No, we've been contacted by one small school district, actually one county over, that is interested in bringing 2 classrooms in to visit us. They have a classroom that, I believe it's, one classroom has 2 students, another classroom has either 6 or 8.
Okay.
And one is children who have sensory issues, the other is children who have a mental challenge of some type.
Okay.
But their classes are usually together in some type of way during the day, and they want to bring the classes,
so they're used to each other already when they come to your space.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where thing goes back to, you know, the family, is the child comfortable with other children or not? These kids are all used to each other.
Yes.
So that's something they're going to be able to enjoy together.
Suzanne, I'm really impressed that you took that on and how much you learned, because I would have been so totally clueless. I don't even know where I would have began, and to know what the end project looks like. You did a great job.
Yes, thank you so much.
This has been nothing but a gift from God, and you know, I've been blessed in learning and getting to see the families. Getting to see the families come in, ladies, I have to tell you, that has been such a blessing to watch.
Awesome. Well, if you need something like this, your child would love something like this, contact the right place for kids, sign up to go to the sensory room, and just be blessed. And when we come back, we will have our tip for the day.
For generations, Dick's Home Care has been providing the best equipment and service for patient care at home. Breathe easier with oxygen from Dick's Home Care. Oxygen concentrators give you a continuous oxygen supply at home. Oxygen cylinders supply oxygen without power. And portable oxygen frees you to go. Dick's Home Care technicians will set your oxygen up and make sure you know how to use it. Call the leader in home medical equipment, Dick's Home Care.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers, and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
Do you ever want to do something a little more creative when it comes to wrapping those Christmas presents, but it needs to also be easy? Well, I have a fun way to do just that. All you will need is either tan-colored paper to do a reindeer, white to do the snowman, red for Santa, or green for a Christmas tree. For the reindeer, you can stop at the dollar store and grab a blinking nose and some reindeer antlers. Add those eyes and the tail. You will only need 2 boxes for this one. Then it takes 3 boxes for the snowman, the Santa, and the tree. And you can easily use stuff that's around your house to complete these. A little construction paper and glue go a long way. I've been doing a different one each year for the kids, and I try to put maybe their best or most special gift in these boxes. It's been an easy but fun way to add a little something extra under that tree. So if you give it a try this year, post a picture so we can see. We would love that. And until next week, let's talk about it.